leaky bucket model. Okay, the 5-bucket model. Okay, really the block training model from Issurin. Let's clear a few things up. Make this make a little more sense. The 5 buckets represent the 5 components we would want as a distance runner or as a runner in general to be full, or at least have some water in them on race day. The size of the buckets represents the capacity we have to hold the residual training effect or the water. The residual training effect is the result of the work we do during the week in each of those component areas. The leaky buckets here represent how fast that residual training effect goes away after we stop training an individual component. This picture here represents the volume of our training, which we get to use to pour into each of the buckets. Now here's the problem. We only have so much volume of training to fill these buckets in a given week. The traditional model would show that we would work on each of these each week and maybe emphasize one a little more than the other. But when we're young, a much smaller volume to pour into the buckets, but the buckets are smaller, but still is usually inadequate to fill all those buckets. As we become older athletes or have an older training age, more training experience, the buckets get bigger, and at some point you run out of how much volume you can increase, and so you still have difficulty filling up these buckets. So Issurin would say, instead of trying to fill up all the buckets in the same week, we would focus on filling up a few of these buckets and then move on and fill a couple other buckets and rely on the fact that some buckets, the residual training effect goes way slower. For instance, aerobic endurance, lactic threshold, VO2 max, they tend to have a residual training effect of 4 to 5 weeks. Okay, so if we fill these buckets, now we've got a 4 to 5 week window once we stop training those to fill the next buckets. So Issurin would say that we're going to work on filling a couple buckets in a week, and we do that for a few weeks, whatever's prescribed by the coach. Then we would move on to filling another couple buckets. And once those were full, as we're letting these drip out, we're going to fill another couple buckets. And so on and so forth, working from the buckets that leak the slowest to the buckets that leak the quickest, so that on race day, we end up with water in all the buckets. Seems pretty simple, right? Could be. The trick is knowing how to time these so that either we get to race day and we still have all of it full, or if we're just in a normal training cycle, we get to the end of the training cycle and we start back on these buckets before they're completely empty. That's the idea of block training, or in this case,